Okay, this is going to be a quick video on how people can make their own little compost bin at home for their home gardens. And you can use a variety of things. I'm just going to show you what I'm doing to collect a few extra things for my compost pile up north. All this is a 12-gallon tote that I purchased at Menards. You can use just about anything that you want. I started putting in some holes on the bottom here. I started doing the very bottom, putting in some drainage holes. You definitely want to have some holes in to get air flowing through. So I'm going to stop for a minute, put more holes in, and I'll show you the result. So I put a bunch of holes all the way underneath, put them on the sides, just for ventilation more than anything. I still have to put a couple holes up on the top for rainwater to get into. Not a whole bunch, but enough for it to keep wet on the inside or get it wet. I'll come back and I'll show you what we're going to put in this tote. Okay, so the tote on the right is the one I just got done with. The tote on the left is some compost my daughter had in hers. And basically it's just a cheap tote that I bought at Menards for about $8, 12-gallon. Drilled holes in it for drainage, for air, and on the tops for rain to get in. Now the big question, what can you put in a compost bin? Well, let me tell you. So the big question is, what can you put in a compost pile? And that's going to, vary probably from person to person. Most of the common things that you put in a compost pile, you can put some topsoil in there, of course. But any of your like vegetable scraps, things that a lot of people just throw in the garbage anyways. So, onion peels, banana peels, apple cores, eggshells, coffee grounds, including the filters, paper towels, napkins, any kind of brown cardboard you can like tear up, shred, throw that in there. Same with newspaper. Any veggie you can think of, carrots, any of the veggie scraps that you would normally throw away can go in your compost bin. The one thing that most people don't put in, some people do. So, and if it works for them, great. Are things like leftover meat, so leftover steak or pork chops or chicken. However, if you have fresh fish, that's good for the compost pile. Or if you buy whole fish or you catch fish, the guts, the head, tail, fins, all that goes in there, and that's great for your compost pile. I also add a little bit of like a handful of fertilizer in there. I'll put a handful of bone meal in there. Some people make their own bone meal by taking like the carcass of a chicken or a turkey or getting all the meat off of it, baking it in the oven for hours till it gets like really dry, very hard, then crush it up themselves, and that's fine too. I haven't done that, but I do put, like I say, a handful or two of bone meal in there. There's a product by Dr. Earth. Even though other companies make it, I use the Dr. Earth. It's called Compost Starter. And what it is, it's kind of like a light brown, almost looks like a fertilizer. And you can put that in your compost bin. It comes in a small 3-pound bag, I believe. And what that does is that helps break down all the materials in your compost bin. It does need to get wet, not soaking wet. You don't want it laying in a big pool of water. That's why you want drainage. But you do want it to get wet because that's what kind of activates the whole process. I also will go to a bait shop and I'll get like a dozen night crawlers or some red worms, and I'll put them in there and let them do their thing. That will just speed up the decomposition process all the more. Plus, then the worms poop and all that. The worm poop is really good for it as well. So basically, that's really all there is to composting. And usually within the year, if you start at the end of your harvest and kind of do that throughout the winter, come spring, you'll have a really nice, rich compost that will just put your garden over the top, you know. You can also put, like, at the end of your harvest, when you're like already took all your tomatoes out the vines and all that, all the dead plants, you can even take those, kind of break them up, and you can even put that into your compost pile. And you really do need to amend your soil. I found that out the hard way. You really do need to amend your soil, and this is one cheap, easy way to do it, rather than going out and spending, a bunch of money, especially these days, spending a bunch of money on, a bag of compost for your yard, and you don't even know 100% what's in that bag. But at least this stuff, you know exactly what's going in there. So anyways, hope that helps a little bit, and feel free to like, subscribe, and if you don't, then don't, have a good one.